Edmonton last year fell short in 7 games. And you look at it, and I want to say something about the Florida Panthers. They're built to win championships. They added Brad Marchand at the trade deadline. Now you have a healthy Matthew Tkachuk. They have one of the best older veteran goaltenders in Bobrovsky. I mean, this team is built. And then you just mentioned you have Barkov and you have Reinhart. Reinhart, who was one of the best goal scorers last year and was a really big-time goal scorer this year. And Barkov is the captain of the Florida Panthers and one of the more underrated centers in all of hockey. This is a stacked team with a tremendous amount of talent. And they have one of the best defensive players in all of hockey. So it's not like you sit here and you say, well, the Florida Panthers don't deserve to be here. They absolutely deserve to be here. But as good and as talented as the Florida Panthers stand out to be, the best player in the world is Connor McDavid. It's not even an argument. He's the fastest. He's the strongest. He's one of the most talented players all around we've seen in the NHL. Reminds me of a faster Mario Lemieux. That's the type of player he is. Strong, upper body strength, can put the puck in many different ways in the net. He uses his speed to really block defensemen or block defensive, offensive players to get to the puck. He's a sensational player. Draisaitl, I think, is one of the top 3, top 4 players in all of hockey as well. He is a sensational player and obviously one of the best German players we've ever seen come out in NHL history. He is a sensational talent. The team, the Edmonton Oilers, with Knoblauch as a young coach in the league, he's been sensational since he's taken over for Edmonton. Back-to-back championship games, and obviously Western Conference championships and Stanley Cup championships. And this team is so good, up and down offensively. And if Skinner's playing the way he has been playing throughout the Dallas series, they're going to be a hard get. I really think Edmonton's going to play a lot better than he did last year. And how could you play a lot better than you did going to a Game 7? But I think Skinner was not as good last year as he has been this year. He's been sensational, and I think the Florida Panthers are just loaded. They're absolutely loaded, even more loaded than they were last year, maybe a little bit less defensively. But when you have Bobrovsky, who's 100% healthy, and he's playing as well as he's played, especially against Carolina, they're going to be a hard out too. This is probably the last time we're going to see Edmonton and Florida here. And the reason why is there's going to be a lot of Panthers that are going to be free agents at the end of the season. And Edmonton, as good as they are talent-wise, if they don't get over the hump this year, I could see Draisaitl or one of these other players. I think it's what's his
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins?
Yes, who could be traded in the offseason. Quite a few players that could be moving to other teams and other organizations if they can't get over the hump this year. So there could be a lot of movement for both of these teams. And again, Florida has a tremendous farm system as well as Edmonton. So both organizations are set up very, very good in the future. But this might be the last time we see these two teams face off in probably the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, there's also a fatigue factor that's going to set in Florida 3 straight cups, Edmonton 2 straight cups. That'll eventually, especially with the veteran players, wear them out. What's interesting with this matchup, I think Edmonton, in terms of the depth types that they have, are built a lot differently than they have been in years past. Now, a lot of the players are the same, but they actually have their own physical wingers of their own, too. Obviously, Evander Kane's been there a while, but you have a guy like Victor Arvids, and like Johnny was mentioning last week, Corey Perry coming back, too. Corey Perry's played in a lot of Stanley Cups recently, including one with Tampa. Ended up winning.
He needs to keep his hands away from women. That's what he needs to start to do.
Yeah, true. And I think that kind of veteran leadership against...
How does he have another job? I was very surprised any organization took him on.
I don't think they were able to find enough of the charges.
Evander Kane, too. He's a crazy
Evander Kane,
too.
he got involved in that whole gambling scandal. It was in 22, I believe.
Yeah, but what he does on the ice and what he does off the ice, he's crazy.
Uh-huh. And it's interesting because I think that's the matchup you're going to have to play against when you're playing against these bigger wingers with Florida, too. And I'm curious to see with Knoblauch especially, too, if he's going to be able to rotate that the way he is, because I think obviously McDavid and Draisaitl are going to play a lot in terms of the ice time, but rotating which wings go on Tkachuk is going to be a very interesting matchup, and then Marchand as well, because they could play physical in their own rights too. And that's why I think this Edmonton team is a little bit different than last year. They're not as power play and finesse reliant as they have to be, and they still have really good center depth, like you're saying, with Nugent Hopkins, and defensive depth too is a lot better as well. Darnell Nurse is kind of a second pair defensemen now, and as I was talking about Ekholm and Xavier Tiers too, these are good depth pieces that I don't think they had as much of last year to a higher level. So I think this is going to be a very interesting series. And the reason I didn't pick any
last year.
And last year was weird because it was Florida won the first three, then Edmonton won the next three.
Bob Brodsky did not play well in the finals last year.
No.
And if he doesn't show up in the finals this year, it could be a long, long series for the Florida Panthers. They have a tremendous amount of talent. They really do. And Matthew Tkachuk, who's been up and down throughout the playoffs. Last year, he was sensational. This year, he's been up and down. He hasn't been as good. I think Matthew Tkachuk has to show up in this series. He's going to have to hit. He's going to have to put pressure on Connor McDavid. And we saw what Connor McDavid did to Team USA in that Frozen Four, or whatever the hell they played. Four Nations that they played. He was upset at Connor McDavid scoring the game-winning goal against Team USA. And I think he's got a lot to prove right now. United States hockey is growing, as we've been speaking about. And Connor McDavid and Matthew Tkachuk, you can argue, are the two best players from their nation. So it's going to be fun to watch.
The other matchup that I think Edmonton has to figure out is Zach Hyman's injury, obviously. So who's going to take over that kind of role? I think he was second or third on the team in points this postseason as well. So if they can't get that depth scoring, it'll be very easy for Florida to be able to win this. But the second and third lines are really going to define this game because Florida could play many different combinations on the line, especially with the versatility, too, with a lot of guys that could play forward, and center, and wing. So Edmonton has to get those matchups to work. But I think they have a much deeper built team. They're not finesse. It's a lot like Tampa. Like Tampa used to be all finesse, and then it took a while to get those depth pieces. Then they got them, they won a cup. And I think Edmonton is in that same kind of boat.
The depth of the Panthers, it might be better this year than it was last year, with Marchand as a third-line winger. You realize that's what he is for them? Like, that's crazy. And obviously a penalty killer. Their defensive lines, Ekblad and Forsling. We don't talk about Forsling a lot. He's not a big points getter necessarily. But that guy is incredible. He is great on the puck. He's great moving the puck. And then you have these assassins on the other side, whoever they put with him, whether it's on even strength or the power play. I'm really impressed with them defensively. Now, the thing is, you have the highest elite talent with McDavid and Draisaitl on the other side. And last year, they didn't have enough depth to stay with Florida.
I don't think they have enough depth this year. I really don't.
Without Hyman, I don't think they have enough depth again. I think that's the problem. They can't, unless they have, McDavid and Draisaitl just take over. And Bobrovsky has another bad series. I don't see it. I just don't. I think Florida is the better team overall. But you never know. When you have these superior
So
talents,
was Dallas.
Sometimes they do special things.
Dallas had the best team throughout the season. Besides Winnipeg, with the talent that they have from the first line to the fourth line, I was shocked that Edmonton threw him around like a rag doll. It really, Connor McDavid, when he takes over games, it doesn't matter how much more talented the other team is. He stands out from everybody else. And that's the thing about Florida. Florida has a tremendous amount of talent. We forget about Alexander Barkov or Sam Reinhart. These two guys are great offensive, talented players. But you forget Matthew Tkachuk's there, Brad Marchand's there. This is a loaded hockey team. But that's how much better Connor McDavid is to everybody else on that team. And again, this is really, I think Matthew Tkachuk is going to be matched up against Connor McDavid. And you're going to see that a lot. This matchup is going to be connected because we saw that in the Frozen, whatever the hell it is.
Four Nations.
I don't care about what it calls it. I call it Frozen 4. It doesn't really matter. The fact is that Matthew Tkachuk really was upset about losing to Connor McDavid and Team Canada in the overtime. They were so close to winning that game, and they choked. And I think this is more important than that. And we have the Olympics, the Winter Olympics next year. I think if Matthew Tkachuk wants to prove himself, he comes out a winner and beats Connor McDavid and outplays Connor McDavid and takes Connor McDavid out in some of this series. If he does that, Connor McDavid showed you why he's the best player in the world. Dallas is a good defensive team. They have one of the best goalies in the league, and the guy scored 6 goals in that series. If you let Connor McDavid, seize the series and play as fast as he played against Dallas, you don't stand a chance against Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, because Draisaitl and Connor McDavid are two of the best power play players in the league. So
you said it right there, power play players, right? Mm-hmm. And that's going to be the story of this series. Can Florida stay out of the box? Mm-hmm. They have guys that like to mix it up. Tkachuk likes to go in the box. We know that about him.
Panthers are 87.9% throughout the playoffs. So defensively.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Look, they're the two best teams, right? This is what you want to see. This is going to be fireworks, just like it was.
I thought it was
last year.
I would have liked to see Dallas versus Florida, because I think Dallas has the talent that can compete. I mean, Dallas has the talent that can compete on all four lines against Florida. I just think that you look at Draisaitl and McDavid, they play on two separate lines. They only play together on the power play. Sometimes they move them and they rotate them on the line. If they're down by a significant amount of points, you'll see Draisaitl and McDavid play together. Very rare on a 5-on-5. But the problem with them is they're limited offensively after the first two lines. And they get tired. You see it later in the game. Connor McDavid, if you look at his scoring, he scores in the first and the second more than he does in the third, because he's playing a lot of minutes.
Ton of minutes.
Yeah, he's playing tons and tons of minutes. And now you're playing against Florida. They have guys that are going to beat the hell out of you, and you're going to have to withstand that beating. Brad Marchand, he is a pain in the ass. He's like a flea. So you know he's going to get under their noses, and I think it's going to be a hard task to beat a Florida Panther team that's better than they were last year. Better. They are better than they were last year.
And the thing that made them so good, so last year they knocked the Rangers out on the way over to the Cup. And the Rangers had a similar problem where their first two lines were really good, but then they had to face those third and fourth lines of Florida, and they got just destroyed by the depth of Florida. Now, the Rangers aren't anywhere close to what Edmonton is.
And they're also bad in 5-on-5 compared to most other good teams.
We don't need to talk about the Rangers more than the one mention.
Yeah, let's get off that. We got a lot more to get into. I don't want to talk about the Rangers.
But that's what I'm saying is that kind of grinded out with all four lines over 7 games. That's a lot to put up with if you're doing so many minutes like McDavid and Draisaitl are going to be doing. It's just a lot. The two of them are going to be double shifting all the time just to be able to be competent. And then we get late in the series, we're going to see them kind of fade. And that's what happened, and I think it's going to happen again.
I'm not going to count out Connor McDavid, but I think Florida is a heavy task.
I think 6.
I think it goes 7 again. I just think Florida has the more depth, and I think it's going to eventually catch up to Connor McDavid. But I'm not going to count on Connor McDavid, and don't be surprised if Draisaitl has a better series than Connor McDavid. I wouldn't be surprised.
1990, last Cup for Edmonton. Mark Messier.
By the way, if you look at Edmonton and you look at Draisaitl has more goals in the playoffs than any player in the last 6 years. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And we haven't seen Draisaitl yet explode in the playoffs.
Lost his father a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
And scored the game-winning goal like that night. This is one of the greatest players in the world. I don't think enough people know about him.
German. And he's German. That's the crazy thing. Yeah. He's not even Canadian.
He gets overshadowed a little bit, obviously, with McDavid there. But, what would you say, top 5?
Oh, easily.
Easy?
Top 5, top
3.
You can argue top 3. Yeah. You can argue top 3. You could.
So this is a team with two, this is like back in the day with Malkin and Crosby, when they had 2 of the top 3.
I think, I was arguing with Jeff today, the 3 best players in the league right now, and you can argue it, it's Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, and then I would say Draisaitl. So I would say those are the 3 best players in the league. Austin Matthews is special. So big, strong, fast. And you can argue, even though Austin Matthews was the captain of the United States team, I think Matthew Tkachuk is the leader of that United States team. You can see that.